Hi, this is Stacy from The Advisor, and today I'm very excited because we have a very special guest today. Actually, two special guests today, a husband and a wife. They are amazing. We have Audra and Matthew Carmen, and they have a beautiful program that they do. They have a business for over 45 years. Parents, how to help them parent their children to make them not just good parents, but to turn their children into excellent children. And they've been working with parents for a very long time, and they work with the children, and they've come up with some really great tools, strategies, techniques, and they've created guides and videos to help parents along the way. So Matthew, Audra, take it away. Tell them a little about who you are, what you do, and share those beautiful strategies and tools that you've shared with me for the show, because I think they're so, so important for parents to hear.
Wow, thank you so much for allowing us to come on your show. We really think the information you impart is incredible. So thank you again for allowing us to join you.
Oh,
Um,
you're welcome.
we've been teaching martial arts for 45 years to children and adults with the goal of developing standout leaders. And clearly, the last 25 years, we've seen tremendous changes in our demographics, meaning we've seen more grandparents and grandma and grandpas raising these young ones than ever before. We've seen less respect in our kids that come to us ever before. We do support the local schools, and we'll get a phone call from a principal saying, we have somebody that's a bully. Can you help them? And we do work on that. And so those are the types of things that we've been engaged in. We want to empower all of these young babies. They need our help, especially during these transformative years between 3 and 9.
Yeah.
And we want to get the parents understanding 3 key secrets that will help them mentally frame what we're doing today. And so I'll go ahead and let Audra introduce herself, and then we'll go back.
Thank you. Yeah. And before we get started, I think it's important to remember and to understand, I guess, is that we do no kicking and punching in our program now. We have actually closed the physical doors of our martial arts school, and now we are blessed to be able to go out and reach global impact to help children become better. So become better at character and leadership skills. So we want to make good kids, great kids. And so when you hear about Karam's Little Leaders, that's what it's all about, is taking those kids to that next level, finding their greatest potential. And so we have a great system that we really worked hard on and invest a lot of time and energy. And so we're excited to be here and share that today. So go ahead.
Excellent. Thank you. So I guess to frame our beginning of our conversation, if you don't mind, I'd like everybody to think a little bit about what is your legacy. And the reason I say that is we have 4 children, and we're getting, my wife and I are getting to the age in our life where we're starting to think, we feel very blessed. We have 1 grandchild on the way, not here yet.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And so, to us as parents, we believe that developing our children into standout leaders is the single most important legacy we can leave behind. Okay.
Right.
It's not the stocks. It's not houses. It's not exotic cars. To us, they're meaningless at the end of our life.
Yes.
We feel our true measure of success will be our children and our grandchildren.
Yes.
It's the babies we want to be our legacy, right? And
Yes.
so I guess I would encourage some to think about that. I know when you're in the throes of raising children, it's so hard. You're day by day, you're crazy busy, and you're working really hard just to get through today.
Right.
But why are we doing it?
Mm-hmm.
Why are we here, right? And
Yeah.
so if you think about the only thing that's going to matter, hopefully everybody lives their life expectancy. Hopefully we make it to whatever our goals are in our life. But when we're there, what's going to matter?
Right.
It's what we did with these babies. Okay. So I guess that's the first component is let's think about and let's be mindful that these are our most important treasures in the world.
Right.
And let's treat them as such. Okay. And so that's the first component.
Yeah. And that's a good point, because when you get them home and as a newborn, so in love, right?
Yeah.
It's your heart just gushes, and then life starts to happen again, and you're making it through that first year of life. And we had 4 children, 5 and under. So
Yeah.
we were busy. And so it's kind of like, okay, I got to get my act together, right?
Right.
I'm going to do this well. And so we were intentional about how we raised our own children. I knew I wanted them to be happy, healthy, self-sufficient adults. That was kind of a mission I had in my head.
Yeah.
And so when we started raising our children, and then became a part of the martial arts school, and we saw this was lacking. And families would come to us and they would say, I want my kids to be like your kids. And I'm like, oh, thank you. That's so nice. And, I was take it as a gracious compliment.
Yeah.
But the more I heard it was a literal statement. They're like, whatever you're doing, we want, to help. And so we knew it was more than just the martial arts component. And so then my background in working with children and Matt's background in martial arts, we kind of married the two conceptually. And
Yeah.
then we said, we can do this. We can make it so that we can reach as many families as we want and help them be intentional about helping their children succeed. So it's
Right.
very exciting. It's been a true passion of ours. So
Right. It's so important. And so we have 3 secrets we'd like to share today, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So let's discuss secret number 1. And secret number 1 is to find that experience guide, right?
Mhm.
And so if we talked and said, we want to set a goal to climb Mount Everest,
Right.
you have to engage an experience guide to be successful, right?
Right.
If you don't train, if you don't get an exercise routine, you don't work on diet, you don't work on mental development to handle and overcome these challenges.
Right.
You read about people that have trained for years
Yeah.
and still don't make it to the top,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
Even with the best guide,
Yeah.
it's so finding that experience guide. A second example that we like to share is if you had a desire to have your child be an Olympic athlete,
Mhm.
let's say a gymnast, they have to start between the age of 3 and 4.
Right.
If they wait till they're 15, it's too late. They
Mhm.
don't, they're not able to do that. And secondly, not only do the children have to start early, but they have to have the best coach ever,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
We see, when I was younger, there was a young girl, her name was Mary Lou Retton. And, I've seen that she's been in the news here just a little bit lately. But everyone knew her coach, Bella Carolla, right?
Right.
Everyone knew he was considered the best, and that's who she got to try to make it to the Olympics, to try to earn a medal. And so, any big aspirations that you have,
Yeah.
anything that you want to do that's a lofty goal, you want to find that experienced guide that's been there and done it,
Mhm.
knows how to help you, especially during the challenging times,
Oh yeah.
right? There's no straight line going up, right, in development.
Yeah.
Sometimes they say you take 2 steps forward and 1 back sometimes in life.
Yeah. Mhm.
But when you work with an experienced guide that's seen that and done that before, they can say, oh, it's okay. This is what we do. This is how we handle that. This is what works.
Yeah.
Now you're not taking those big steps backwards. And now you're feeling good about those forward steps that are happening, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I think a nice add-on too is, an experienced guide is my husband, who's done many businesses and been quite successful. I'll brag on him a minute, but he
Mhm.
would always say, if I don't know because some of the businesses we bought, he had no experience in, but he would say, I'm going to find somebody who's doing this well. And then he would hire them and say,
Yeah.
teach me what you know. So there was always that. We learned over time, smart people learn from their own mistakes. Really
Right.
smart people learn from the mistakes of others, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
so we've tried to make sure that's a critical component. And when we get into this, like I said, life just starts to happen.
Yeah.
And if we don't say, and sometimes looking at that experience guide comment, what do we refer back to? How we were parented.
Yes.
And sometimes we have some damage that was done or some wounds or some scars, and we don't want to parent that way, but I'm sure there was some good things. Or we've had great parents. And so now we want to pull that all together. So we have, with my background in working with kids, and being a parent, and we put this all together, and it's about really having someone that you can trust. And so
Yeah.
that's an exciting piece that we feel we can offer, as an experienced guide for that, raising leaders. So.
Sure. Okay. Is it all right if we move on to secret number two?
Yeah, go ahead.
Wonderful. Okay, so secret number two that we want parents to know and understand is there's a limited learning window. Okay.
Mhm.
And so when we say a limited learning window, believe it or not, our brain, depending on who you listen to or believe, has different stages of development. Okay.
Yes.
So arguably, there's 0 through 10 months.
Mhm.
Okay. And arguably, that's when all of the involuntary things are developed. Walking, crawling, eating, the sucking that the babies have to do to nurse.
Right.
And those involuntary things are developed during that time. Okay.
Right.
And so, arguably, the second biggest block of development is between 3 and 9 years old.
Mhm.
And if you read in the books, 95% of the adult brain is developed during that time. And the peak energy consumption, believe it or not,
Yeah.
is during that time as well for these babies. And so they, at this time, between 3 and 9, they're sponges.
Yes.
And as we had talked a little bit earlier, they're sponges for positive
Mhm.
and they're sponges for negative as well, right?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so it's so important that we be intentional about what we're doing with these babies. And
Yeah.
so if we take that limited learning window and actually work really hard at changing that scenario, we've met parents in the martial arts school that say, I don't want to be parented like I was raised.
Right.
I want something different for my babies,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
If you say that and you think that, you have to make a conscious decision to change that.
100%.
The first thing that always happens with a parent, I'll give you an example. When my dad was teaching us martial arts. I started when I was 5 years old,
Mhm.
and so now I'm 57, so considerably different, right? I was raised in a very militant environment in martial arts.
Mhm.
My dad would holler. He would say things. You weren't permitted to talk in class. And I want to share a pivotal moment for us in our life. When my daughter, we have 4 children. My daughter was 4 years old, and she
Mhm.
was in our martial arts class. When I hollered at the boys and they cried in the beginning, I was like, buck it up, it's okay. And we'd go home and my wife would be upset at me but when my daughter cried, it broke my heart.
Right.
And I thought, what adult male would holler at a little girl that's 4 years old, so much so you make her cry?
Yeah.
It broke my heart. And I said, I'll never, ever in my life do that again to any children.
Mhm.
And so that was when I broke that cycle
Yes.
of doing it differently than it was done to me.
Right.
Okay. Because I saw it in my own child, my own daughter.
Mhm.
And that's when I have to tell you, my wife helped me a lot. She would remind me, Matt, kids aren't having fun. We're not doing this. And
Yeah.
and I really appreciated that feedback because when I try to do something really well and I'm wanting to do my best job, I find myself reverting back to the way my dad taught me.
Yes.
I make the same mistake myself. Okay. And so it's so important that we think about these things and be willing to take mentorship
Mhm.
from others to make these efforts change. And so part of secret number two is there's a study that Brown University did
Mhm.
with 50,000 families. Okay.
Wow.
Huge longitudinal study. And the headline of the study says, study finds habits in children take root by the age of 9.
Right.
Okay. It's so important. What that study revealed is that all of these children stop learning to do any more chores. They stop listening. They stop development and growth really at the age of 9.
Mhm.
Brown University says if you want these babies to develop, you have a short window of time and make it positive and
Yeah.
work really hard at
Yeah.
developing.
And with that said, we all can develop new habits. We all can break habits.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder, right?
Yeah.
And I think a big component of this study and the research is done is it showing that when we start young, when we create those habits they take hold of us, right? They become a part of who we are. So, and all of us are going to have struggles in life. And if a part of this, they say too, if we don't prepare our children for these struggles,
Yeah.
it's gonna wreck them, right? They're gonna struggle.
Yeah.
As opposed to providing those habits when we hit those struggles, those are things, the routines and the things that are consistently happen that we fall back on. And that's that constant that helps get us to that next place. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Oh, it makes 100% sense. Yes.
Okay. And I think that's an important component of good habits, bad habits, valuable habits. What are they? But your children need to be built at a good age at 3 to 9. So
One of the great examples I like to use at this limited learning window is learning a foreign language.
Mhm.
Okay. We live in Arizona,
Mhm.
and my 25-year-old son has worked hard to learn Spanish.
Mhm.
Okay. And I wanted to learn Spanish. We would do a program that was on a phone app.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he consistently, when it came to sentence structure and how to do it, he beat me hands down, right? He did it so much better. And right.
yeah.
But the ironic part is we have a nephew that lives in Ohio. He's only 8 years old. And he heard about the challenge that he and my son had. And he said, "Do you mind if I join in?" I'm like, sure, love, more the merrier, right? Would you believe that 8-year-old has passed my 25-year-old son by like he's standing still, and I can't even be in the conversation? Okay. So we all know if we want these babies to learn a foreign language, the younger they learn it,
Yes.
the quicker they adopt it. And it
Mhm.
starts they say the real key is when you can start to think in that foreign language. Okay.
Yes.
Now you've really got it. Okay.
Right.
And so I hope that helps parents understand that limited learning window exists for so many things, not only a foreign language, but
Just learning. Yeah.
just learning in general. And so your brain, it takes 6 months for your brain to learn and develop a new neural pathway
Yeah.
so that they can actually do that task and do it well.
Right.
Okay. And so that's what we want to help these babies do is grow that foundational skills that they need. So now they're equipped for the rest of their life. They're now empowered. Okay.
Yes.
Is it okay if we go to secret number 3?
Sure.
Okay, awesome. So secret number 3 is not as well known. Okay. And it talks about intentional effort. Okay.
Mhm.
And so there's a person, his name is Dr. James Comer.
Mhm.
He's the assistant dean at Yale Medical School. He's an MD as
Right.
well. And he runs the child psychology department at Yale. Okay. Very intelligent individual. Okay. He's over 80 now. And so one of the things that he shares is he could not see a difference as he was growing up why children that were just as smart as him, that came from just as supportive parents as him, didn't do well, but some did.
Right.
Okay. And he's like, there's no real study being done on this. Why? And so he took another 20 years to really delve into, deep dive into
Yeah.
why is this existing? How is it happening? What's going on? And really what he ended up discerning was a very simple piece. His parents were intentionally developing him as a child. They set clear boundaries and they supported him.
Yes.
That was the very simple difference. There were children that were just as smart as him, worked just as hard, and their parents loved them just as much. But those parents did not intentionally work on their children's development. And he says that is the significant difference in his opinion. Okay.
Right.
And so it really is so important when you're in business. If we say, focus on the number of calls you make,
Mhm.
or focus on the number of people you talk to, right?
Right.
Or those type of activities, in business, it's easy to say what gets measured gets done,
Right.
right? this is really the same thing. It reinforces this intentional development.
Right.
Yeah, I like to think about it kind of like if we all set the goal and depending the time of the year, some people have New Year's resolutions, but
Mhm.
if you say, I want to get in better physical shape, well, if you start being cautious of what you eat and aware of what you eat, go to the gym and work out, you're going to see results, right? If
Right.
you go into the office and you go in early, you start making more calls and you start connecting with more people, you're going to see results. So
Right.
it's about making that intention of, I have to change something.
Yes.
And so a lot of us just keep, and I won't say float because as a mom of kids, you're never floating through life, but
Yeah.
as you work your way through and you muddle through all the doctor's appointments and the follow-up visits and the play dates and all the stuff in school, it gets to be a lot. And so that was another thing besides these three things to share is that, our solution really is, it takes less than 10 minutes a week.
Yeah.
And we were intentional about that because my husband's an over the topist, I like to refer, and I'm a minimalist. And I say we have to meet somewhere in the middle because
Yeah.
this can't be really convoluted and a lot of work for parents and moms, especially. We have to keep this clean and simple and clear and concise. So I
Yeah.
think we've done that. So we're excited.
Yeah, so those are the basic three secrets that we were hoping to share with parents so they could take this and really noodle on it, right?
Right.
And say, you know what, you're right. The children are our important legacy. They really are. So now let's delve into it. And so what we'd like to do now is kind of share our solution and
Hmm.
what we shared with over 1,000 families and just give you an idea of why it works and how it works. Is that
Yeah.
okay with you?
Yeah. I'd love to hear the solution.
Wonderful,
So
wonderful.
we break it down and it's easiest way to remember it is 1-1-1.
Hmm.
So every week there's one weekly video and it's less than 7 minutes long. It's animated with our star of the show, Black Belt Bruce. And he comes out and teaches a character lesson that's really specific. So it might be saying please this week. And so he introduces the concept, the other animated characters in there, play along. And like I said, they're only maximum of 7 minutes. And then after they watch the video, then we have a quick discussion on it and we help you with the questions. And then it's organically, you're inputting it all through the week. So we have that one video, the one mission,
Right.
what they're doing, and then they earn a wristband at the end. So there's one reward.
I like
So at
that.
the end of the month, they earn a wristband and they kind of assimilate to the belts that we used to have in martial arts.
Hmm.
And they're colorful and the kids can wash them and wear them. And it's just like that little reward, but it's not like a trophy or anything. It's, it's a token to say you're doing it, you're making progress. And I think kids thrive on that. So that's really the nuts and bolts of it, but go ahead.
Yeah, so in 1960, National Training Laboratories created a scientific retention pyramid, they called it, okay?
Okay.
And so that was the best way for information to be disseminated to somebody and them retain it, okay?
Okay.
So in that pyramid, 20% is visual, okay?
Audio, visual, yeah.
Audio and visual, yes. And so we see that with our babies today.
Yeah.
They're on social media everywhere. They
Mhm.
can, my kids can tell me more things that happen in the world that I never even heard of than, and they tell it to me like that, right? So
Yeah.
that's 20%. That's why we're following a scientific research proven method of making sure that they retain.
Right.
Second is when you do participation, okay?
Hmm.
These are stacked and they help retain, right?
Yeah.
So one of the best ways to give you an example is if we want somebody to drive a car, typically in that lesson, there's two components. There's in class and there's in car, right?
Right.
If you only had the in class portion, how do you think the kids would do when they got on the road and were legally allowed to drive?
Or any of us, right?
They wouldn't do well, right?
Yeah.
We have to teach them when they're in the car while they're actually making some of those mistakes, okay?
Yeah.
As parents, I like to call those teaching moments, right?
Right.
When you can grab a hold of your child when they made the mistake and help steer them in a way that helps them,
Yeah.
that is the best learning opportunity in life, right?
Right.
Our kids aren't, the scariest problems that we have now as parents are when our kids aren't under our roof and you see them going through that pain and you can't help them.
Yeah.
I mean, it tears your insides out. I mean,
Yeah.
so the second part of that learning pyramid is practice. And so that's why we have the kids actually for 7 days
Hmm.
work at what that lesson taught them. So if it's saying please, they have to say it for 7 days.
Right.
Very easy. But if they don't do it, they don't learn it.
Exactly.
And lastly is the 1 monthly reward. Okay. And the key with the reward is we, I'll regress back to my dad when I was growing up.
Hmm.
I was never told I did a good job.
Right.
Okay. I was just expected to. I was
Mhm.
only told I did a bad job. Right.
Yeah.
And if I did a bad job really quickly, I was told I didn't do well. Right.
Right.
And so today we've learned, research shows us that if you compliment a child for
Yes.
2 weeks
Right.
on a thing that you want them to do that they're
Yes.
not doing,
Hmm.
in short as 2 weeks, you will start to get that new desired result that you did not have before.
Yeah,
Okay.
Right.
praising. Yeah, and the praise and how you do it is important too. And so, yeah, the praise is important, but it's fascinating to see the impact that can have. They're like they want and need the praise. Yes.
Yeah. So what we want parents to understand is when the children earn a reward, because
Hmm.
just like martial arts, nothing is given, everything is
Yes.
earned. Okay. When they've completed 4 weekly missions and did it well, and to your standards and satisfaction as mom, dad, or caregiver,
Hmm.
that means they've earned that reward.
Right.
And you want to recognize that good behavior. You want to
Yes.
be able to say,
Yeah, we celebrate. Yeah.
you celebrate
Mhm.
with that. And we
Yeah.
recommend that you invite all of the child's stakeholders over for a little get together, right?
Right. Hmm.
Just to say, hey, Stacy did this. She did her homework. She did this and she did this.
Right.
Grandma and grandpa, good job, and way to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Our children today are not praised very often for doing things well,
Right.
right? Okay, you cleaned your room and you get praised for doing it, right?
Right.
In my day, you were just expected to do it. I
Right.
was just expected every Saturday to polish my shoes. That's what you had to do.
Right.
And if I didn't, I got in trouble. It was the other way around. Okay. And so to us, the studies today show that the children definitely go further in life when you encourage that behavior. And
Yes.
that's what we're here to do. Okay. So, and I'd like to step back in our 111. The key is in our first one, those videos only go 3 to 7 minutes long.
Hmm.
We had our martial arts students pick out the characters. So you'll notice the first one, the star of the show, so to speak, Black Belt Bruce, is an alligator. Okay.
Hmm.
Then we have a hyena and we have a toucan. And then the one that's the most funny is the cranky cockroach, right? He's the nemesis of the show. He's always doing the part he's not supposed to do,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And getting, people riled up and that type of stuff. But the key is we, number one, even though we might not like that it's a video format, number one, it's the highest retention rate in passive learning under that learning pyramid.
Yes.
Number two, that's how all of our children want to learn today.
They do.
Okay.
Yeah, we're really intentional about meeting the kids where they were. But we as parents too, we tried to limit the time that the screen time, right? But what we found is so many parents who are engaging with us are saying it's just enough, right? It's not that much, it's less than 7 minutes,
Yeah.
and it's good stuff. And I
Right.
think a lot of parents are saying they're hard pressed to find quality things that they can show their children. And there's lots of controversy on different topics right now.
Yeah.
But I think it's good quality stuff. It's short, it's fast, it's engaging, it's not overwhelming. And we were very intentional about making that happen.
We have a developmentally disabled school that uses our program.
Hmm.
And we give the parents access to those videos at home, just as the school. So that way mom and dad are on the same page, which is so
Right.
important in that development area. There was a young boy that was afraid. You would call him a perfectionist, if you will, right?
Hmm.
He was afraid to do anything wrong. And so he would rather not do it.
Right.
So some teachers would call him obstinate or petulant, or he's just not participating. Well, when you understand these babies and you figure out
Yes.
that's not the case,
Right.
he's not
Exactly.
that at all. That's not true. What he is he's afraid to do it wrong. Okay.
Right.
So our program was so great in the fact that the positive peer pressure, when the other kids started taking their missions or weekly assignments saying,
Yes.
please, to the school, and he didn't do it, he started to get upset. Wait a minute. Why aren't I earning a star? Why didn't I get this?
Yeah.
And so mom and dad said, well, his first name is Nathan, but I won't share his last name with you. But Nathan, if you do this, you earn it. And it got Nathan trying. It got him doing it. And then
Yeah.
when it went on to the wristband, okay, the school had a great little assembly for the kids. Guess what? Mom knew he wasn't going to earn his wristband, but she invited grandma and grandpa anyhow. And so when all the kids were getting called up to earn their wristband, and Nathan didn't get called up, what do you think grandpa said? Nathan, what's going on? Well, then there were tears and he was, and so it helped him. Next month, he did all the missions, he earned his wristband, and now Nathan's not afraid to try.
Right.
It opens up those doors for that baby for his future life.
Yes.
So now he can try things that he might scare him in the past and he would be reluctant to do. Okay. And so that's our goal, is helping these babies develop new skills and talents that they can take the rest of their life, that will open those doors, not close them.
Yes.
That's the value of our program. Our program, we work on one learning unit every month. And that base foundation level is the 12 learning units that we want all of our children to have under their belt.
Right.
We know developmentally with children, if they walk before they crawl,
Yeah.
a lot of doctors say developmentally, we still need to go back and have them crawl, because there's key things in their brain that they need to be doing that they won't have in their future life if they don't do them.
Right.
And that's the same with us. Some of the key learning units that we work on monthly, your child might already have down. They might
Right.
not. But the key is that we go over all 12. It's uniform for everyone.
Yes.
And now we have a supportive environment that weekly we jump on the Zoom calls with mom or dad, caregivers, to say, let us support you.
Mm-hmm.
What are the wins you're having?
Right.
What are some of the challenges you're having? Let's have some fellowship between us and work together with these babies. It really does take a village to raise these children. Okay.
Yeah.
And so our goal is to give them that give mom and dad the positive environment they need to be successful.
Yes.
In turn, they can give the children that positive environment they need to be
Yes.
successful. Right.
100%.
And so it's empowering them, giving them all those tools and resources, and giving them the sounding board that when it's maybe not going their way,
Yes.
a place to come and say, I need help.
Mhm.
What can we do? Right.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, parents, moms especially, tend to believe still are doing the major child rearing at home. Not that they're even at home sometimes, because both parents are working a lot of times. But there's that missed opportunity that used to be when you're working so much and trying to manage the home. Play dates are struggles sometimes to get organized, but that was a place where a lot of camaraderie happened, where moms would share like, oh, Tyler's doing this now. And, and then you would kind of like have that mastermind meeting, like, okay, and just casually talking about it. And,
Right.
and a lot of moms slash stay-home dads, or who's ever taking care of the kiddos, don't have that. And so we offer that. And with our experience, hopefully we can, provide some insights and direction that they may not have thought of, since we've been there and done that, so to speak. So.
And our program really is a 3-year curriculum.
Mhm.
And we do, for the educators out there, we do follow what's called Bloom's taxonomy. So level 1, you want to build the children's self-confidence.
Yeah.
And that's what the whole first year is doing. It's just getting their feet under them.
Mhm.
I'll give you a little regress that I caught a lot of heat for as a child, or raising my children. Okay.
Yeah.
I noticed that my children, sometimes when they got on the school bus, they weren't ready for school.
Mhm.
They weren't ready for all the mental challenges, the physical challenges, and things like that, And
Right.
so as a dad, I'm a problem solver. If you tell me something, I don't just passively listen. I try to
Right.
think of, okay, what can I do to solve this? And
Yeah.
so my wife knows what I did. So what I did was I said, okay, guys, to make sure you're up and ready and at 'em for school, we're going to do 10 push-ups,
Mm-hmm.
10 sit-ups, and
Mm-hmm.
10 jumping jacks before you get on the school bus. Hey, oh my gosh. I think every teacher at their school knew about it. Every kid on the school bus knew that I did that. I had the best of intentions, okay? That, I just wanted them to handle school better, right? I
Yeah.
wanted them fully equipped. I knew my children, when they're at their peak, they can handle adversity, right?
Right.
They're mentally prepared. But
Mm-hmm.
when they're half asleep and they're not ready, then it catches them off guard. And so we
Yes.
did that for a while. And so then we stopped. But
Well, and a lot of them chose to do it. It was something we implemented in our school as well,
yeah,
as one of the missions for the week. And
Mhm.
that's what they'll find is as they go through the program, and you don't have to go 3 years, you don't have to go 2 years. You can just do 1 year and we do believe it's a 1 year commitment because you can't see the changes you want if you just
Exactly.
dabble in this, right? You have to put in the effort. But what we did see is as parents, and I am the same as well as Matt, is you pick certain things that like, oh, I like this one, like
Yeah.
lay out your clothes the night before. It's not something that we have in our program, but it's something that we used to teach is
Yeah.
you lay out your clothes the night before. That way, that morning when you're starting for school, you just throw it on and it's not
Right.
deliberating and that's where a lot of people are fans of uniforms, right? So, but yeah, it's about thinking through what your expectations are and grabbing hold of what this is really important in my family. I want this to make sure it sticks, and you keep those, and the other ones are valuable and they're certainly important to introduce and keep
Yeah.
on.
One of the points that Audra brought just reminded me of something. We would occasionally get in, I would call them a Marine dad, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They
Mm-hmm.
came out of the military. And so I'd tell them, really for your child to be successful in our program, it takes 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd say, I don't have 12 months. I'm going to bring him in every night. I want you to beat it into him. And in 3 weeks, I'll have the perfect kid. Like, whoa, no, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Children aren't like robots.
Right.
You can't just put this in, and you get the desired result out, right?
Right.
It's a process. It's not a one-time event, okay?
Yes.
And so the goal of the program is slow and consistency.
Yeah.
Children need to know the consistency is there and that that the parents love them, okay?
Yes.
And also that they have time to learn it and digest it, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Even as an adult, sometimes when I'm putting in a situation that's new to me, I
Yes.
don't know how to react immediately sometimes.
Right.
How do these children? They don't know, right?
Yeah.
And so we don't want the Marine style dad, if you will, that
Yeah.
wants it beat into their child, because that's not how they learn.
No.
I'll give you an example. One of our children, I always called them open book tests.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They would get their spelling words at the beginning of the week and
Yes.
have that spelling test on Friday.
Right.
In my mind, I told my children, hey, if you can get a 100% at the end, then you don't need me and we're all good.
Right.
If you don't get 100%, then we need to talk. Okay.
Right.
Well, not one of my kids got 100%, believe it or not. And so I had them then write every Monday, every word 10 times.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Believe it or not, you would think with them writing the words that many times, that first week, not one of my kids still got 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What it taught me was these babies still need time to learn.
Yes.
They have to teach their brain first how to learn,
Yes.
and then they can do it, right?
Yes.
That's the point of the process over 12 months. Okay.
Right.
Now, at the end of the story, after 4 weeks of all my children writing each word 10 times, every one of them got 100%. And then they didn't have to write them anymore. They
Right.
learned how to learn.
They
Okay.
learned
And
how to learn.
so we just want to help the parents understand that it's okay that the children learn.
Yes.
It takes time.
Takes time.
Support them, empower them, make them feel good for the things that they are doing well.
Yes.
Recognize that good achievement.
Right.
You will get more of it. One of the biggest things we always did in our martial arts school that I love the parents do is what's called showcase. Okay.
Mhm.
So let's say that I had a young fella and he was 7 years old, and he wasn't really that enthusiastic about being there. Okay. We always knew that all of the kids could kick at least shoulder height.
Right.
Boy, girl, didn't matter. They could just lift their leg that high if they wanted to, right? And
Right.
this little guy would only kick waist high. He really didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
Okay. The mom made him come anyhow. So what I did was I said, his first name was Seth. I said, Seth, come on up in front of class. And I said to everybody, everyone, look how good of a front kick Seth is doing. He's bringing his knee up and he's extending his foot and he's keeping eye contact with them. And we have a thing where we say, clap, clap, you rock. Okay.
Oh, I
And
like that.
right, that really elevates them, lifts them up, and gets them so feeling supported that they
Yeah.
do even more. Right. And so that's what we did with Seth. I had the whole class do clap, clap, you rock. Please understand, his kicks were only waist high. In my prior teaching, I would have handled that totally different as
Right.
an okay. But guess what? In the end of 2 weeks, Seth was the highest kicker in his class.
I believe it.
Mom couldn't have been more ecstatic. I was so proud of Seth, and I brought him back up and said, wow, look at the improvement that Seth has had. And we did it again. We did clap, clap, you rock. He smiled from ear to ear, and he had so much confidence in himself. Everyone felt it,
Yeah.
And so that's what we're here to do. Support these babies in their development, recognize those positive things they do. When they're on the fence and
Yeah.
they're struggling or they're having a hard time, showcase them, reinforce the good things they're doing,
100%.
and you will get that desired result in a little bit of time if you support them.
Yeah.
And so that's our basic mission for all of these children is to help them grow and develop into strong leaders. That's what we need these children to be.
Yes.
We don't need more followers,
No.
right? We
need-
need leaders,
We
right?
need leaders. Yes.
And we need leaders that love everybody,
Mm-hmm.
leaders that help everybody.
Yes.
And so that's where these come from.
Yes.
I'm so proud. We have Alyssa's what's 5 years old. We have a little girl that's 5 years old. She's in kindergarten. The kindergarten teacher always has an aide that shows up.
Mm-hmm.
The kindergarten aide did not come to class. She went to the front of class and said to her teacher, I know the aide didn't show up. How can I help you? That's what Black Belt Bruce would tell me to do.
Oh, that's nice.
I mean, wow. I mean, she's 5.
Yeah.
All she did was what she was taught. And that teacher got a hold of her parents when they came and said, I have never had a child
Yeah.
in kindergarten ever do that before.
Right.
And so but she's a great girl. I mean, these babies want to please you.
Yeah.
They want to be loved. They want to help out. If you just give them the basic things to do,
Right.
and I do want to share one story with you that's so impactful to me.
Yeah.
We had a mom that had 3 children,
Mm-hmm.
and the center child was developmentally disabled.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to one of our learning units where all of the children were asked to help and do something in the home.
Right.
So the mom picked out, that said, here's the things. And the daughter said, I want to do the dishes. Okay.
Mhm.
The oldest boy said, I want to take out the trash.
Mm-hmm.
Great. The mom told the second son that was developmentally disabled, right now your school is overwhelming. We don't want to give you any more to do. You just keep doing what you're doing and you're doing great. Okay. 2 weeks later, the second son started acting up like mom had never seen.
Right.
He was saying things that were inappropriate. He was hitting his sister. He was standing in the way of his brother. He was actively doing things that she had never seen him do. So mom came in and we talked. So mom had a one-on-one with the second son and said to him, Jacob, why are you starting to act the way you're acting?
Right.
And you know what Jacob said to mom? Do you love me?
Aw.
And mom said, what do you mean, Jacob? He says, you gave my older brother things to do in the house. You gave my younger sister things to do. I don't have anything to do.
Mm.
He felt left out.
Right.
The exact opposite of what mom was trying to accomplish
Yeah.
happened. So mom at that point said to him, Jacob, you want to help around the house? He said, yes.
Yeah, the kids, they want to be a part of the team, right?
Yes,
Yes,
And
for
we
sure.
identify our family as a team.
they do.
And they derive so much value from contributing. And sometimes parents will be under the concept that it's just easier if I do it, which we know, A, it is easier, but that doesn't raise a strong
Yeah.
child who can take care of themselves. And B, it takes a little more time. But it's so important for our children to learn responsibility, to learn that
Yes.
they're capable, right? Yeah,
100%.
yeah, the first
Yes.
time they make their bed, oh, but we have to work with them. We have to help them, and we don't expect perfection. And
Right.
that's another component. We say, we recognize the mini milestones if they put the pillow on the bed that they never did before. Well, we're gonna recognize
Yes,
that, we're not gonna
exactly.
just, and that's when you praise more of what you want to see again, right?
Yeah.
What you want to have happen. So
We had a young boy that he was 12, but developmentally he was around 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Grandma brought him, and he struggled with loud noises. He
Mm-hmm.
struggled with anybody touching him, right?
Right.
He struggled if too many things happened in the room at one time. Okay.
Yeah.
So the first thing we did was we had him take 2 weeks and just sit and watch everybody.
Right.
And I took one of our assistant instructors and I sat him right beside him and said, assistant instructor, teach him what you're supposed to do and not supposed to do,
Right.
right? In class, you have to raise your hand. You can't just talk, right?
Yes,
In class, you can't just run out. You have to ask and those kind of
exactly.
things. Well, grandma, I told grandma, I said, grandma, we will get him in the front of class, standing there doing what he's supposed to do like all the other children.
Right.
She said it's impossible. I've had him to every counselor. I've had him in a special school. He's not capable of doing it. I said, well, grandma, in this school, we're going to ask it out of him. Okay.
Right.
He may not be able to do it. We won't punish him for it.
Right.
But you know what? I'm going to expect it. Okay.
Right.
As teacher. Right. And let's see truly how much he can give us. Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Because during the time, he did have a lot of struggles.
Right.
But people were starting to stop expecting anything out of him.
Yes.
And that breaks my heart as a dad, right?
Oh, yeah.
As a dad, I feel a big responsibility to get my children ready for this world. Okay.
Right.
And so the end of the story was, now it took me 4 months, don't get me wrong, it didn't
Yeah.
happen
Yeah.
overnight. But we do a martial arts ceremony when the kids and students earn a new belt.
Mhm.
They all get to stand in front of class. They all get to show off. Everybody claps for them and
Yeah.
they come and take pictures. Okay. Which is the highlight of most people's, but for him, it was a petrifying experience, right?
Yeah.
That scared him to death. But the end of the story I wanted to share was in 4 months, grandma was crying because
Aw.
he stood in the front of class. He did everything else the other kids did. He wasn't scared of the noise. He didn't
Yes.
run away, and he
Right.
came out and took pictures. And she never thought
Yeah.
that could ever be in his life, right?
Wow.
And so we want parents to understand we know how tough it is, especially if you have a child with a disability. It's
Mm-hmm.
a continual struggle day in and day out. But what we implore you is don't give up on them.
Right.
Give them more
yeah, challenge them a
challenges
little bit,
and stay with them because they will give you more than you realize.
Yes.
It just takes them longer.
Yes.
Okay. And in our martial arts school, we didn't care how long it took you to learn something.
Right.
It was just important that you learned it.
Exactly.
That's it. Right. And that's where we're at here. Even though we have a 12-month curriculum, we have some children that take it over 24 months.
Right.
That's okay. Mom and dad, if it's okay with you, you'll find it's okay with your child.
Right. Exactly.
Don't put that pressure and burden on them that they have to do this in this amount of time, and right?
Right.
That's not the goal. The
Right.
goal is when those babies leave your home,
Yes.
they have a foundation that gives them grit, gives
Hmm.
them resilience, gives them the tools they need to succeed.
Exactly.
And then I feel like a dad, I've done what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
Right? I've got them ready for the world, and so that's the goal of our program. We do have a free gift that we would
Mhm.
like to share with everybody, if it's
Yeah.
okay with you.
Oh, definitely.
One of the most important social skills all of our children need to learn is making friends.
Yes.
Okay. As a parent, if you see your child not having friends, it kills you. It breaks your heart. It tears you apart, right?
Yeah.
We always say there's different stages in life when we have to learn to make friends. The first stage is when you're in kindergarten, right?
Hmm.
When you go to middle school, you have to learn how to make friends. When
Yeah.
you go to high school, you have to learn how to make friends. When you go to college and or that first job, you have to learn to make friends. So
Right.
we've created normally it's $79, but for your listeners, we've created this guide and we're giving it to everybody there for free. Okay. And it's just makefriends.club. They just have to enter their name and maybe email, and they get the free guide. And you can walk through your child day by day with all of the essential skills that they need to help them make friends. And it's totally free. And we hope that, everybody can benefit from it.
Yeah, the guide is a big picture to help them really understand, and I think there's valuable points to expand upon and try and the child and the parent can work together in helping them implement it. It
Yeah.
is one of our core curriculum programs, so they can decide to participate in that if they want. But it's a great introduction, and I know it's several pages. It's
It is.
like a nice little
And
booklet of good stuff. So
we've even had some teachers come to us and say, do you mind if I use this in my class? Right?
Yeah.
Of
Hmm.
course you can, right? That's the goal. Help as many of these children as you can. They
Yeah.
would say, I want something to do today, something to do tomorrow. And then they take some of those activities. Please share it with everybody.
yeah.
It.
And we're in some schools because they like the curriculum and the ease of use and the time efficiency. Like we said, it takes 10 minutes a week.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're like, how does that work? And then after you understand how it works, it makes total sense. But
Yeah.
so the schools have requested us. We really wanted to work with parents, uniquely one-on-one. And then the schools, the ones that approached us were like, can we do this here? And we're like, absolutely. So we are in both avenues. So it's really
Yeah.
exciting though.
Great. Yeah. So, any questions that you have for us or any thoughts that you think we should cover that we missed?
Well, I would wonder if you can give a couple of takeaways from everything that we've discussed in this whole podcast. Is there
Yes.
certain things you'd like to emphasize, a couple of takeaways for the listeners?
Please, yes. So I guess a couple of the takeaways would be, in my mind, number one, please remember how important and valuable those babies are to you in your life.
Yeah.
And please put them first.
Mm-hmm.
You are their first teacher. You're their best teacher. Make it count, right? So that's the first takeaway. That's your legacy. The second is find an experienced guide to help you educate your child. If it's
Right.
us, great. If it's somebody else, wonderful. It doesn't matter. But find somebody that can help you through that. Number two is be intentional about that development,
Right.
right? Make sure you put a priority in what's going on and what's happening. Make sure that those things are forefront of your mind so that that helps your children as well. Okay.
Yes.
And the next
Limited
thing,
learning window.
yeah, and the limited learning window, thank you, Audra, is these babies only have from the age 3 to 9 to grow these new neurons and pathways. All these things are firing.
Yes.
If you, just like learning that foreign language, if you really sink those in, that is the best gift you can give your child forever,
Mm-hmm.
and work on that. And then lastly, I want you guys to remember that encourage your children is so important.
Yes.
Uh, Give them accolades for even the smallest things that they do
Yes.
so that they continue to give you better and better and more, right?
100%.
And
Yes.
and and that is so important That's not the way I was raised.
Mhm.
It's not but it's turned out to be the best. Okay.
Right.
And so at the very end is give your children time to learn.
Mhm.
If you're really insistent that they have to do something the right way, then show them,
Exactly.
just like you would any employee, right? If you hire an employee, I can't say go over there and do this, right?
Right.
First, I have to tell them what I want to do. I show them how to do it. I watch them do it. I help
Exactly.
critique them do it better.
Mhm.
Now they're finally capable to do it on their own.
Right.
And that's an adult. Why
Yeah.
would you do any less with a child, right?
Exactly.
So if you do have an expectation that that child make their bed or clean their room or do something, I'm all for that. Don't get me wrong. But then please show them the way you expect it to be done.
Exactly.
Help them do it. Show them what your desired result is, and then you'll get that. So that's all.
Yes.
So thank you. Yes, that would be our takeaways.
There was
Now
a
you
few of them there.
I know. I'm sorry.
Now
I
your
just-
program is online, so anyone has access to go to sign up for your program. So can you
yes.
tell everybody where to go if they're interested in signing up or learning more about your program?
Yeah, there's two ways. And so we will give you both. One might be easier. So it's karamslittleleaders.com. And then they just pick on individual or school, or Bruce at blackbeltbruce.com.
You can email us.
Yeah, you can email us, or blackbeltbruce.com.
Yeah.
So both of you, those are the links, but a lot of people don't know how to spell Karams. So we just did Black Belt Bruce. So yeah, either one, because Black Belt Bruce, as you heard, is the star of the show. And so he's our main character. We anticipate he's going to be as popular as Clifford someday, the big red dog. So, but yeah.
But yes,
so
it's
that would be
all online.
Yep. All
And-
online, and we send out these booklets. So the kids get them in the mail, and they're super excited for
Right,
each
see 'em.
month, and then they're excited, which makes the learning better and easier and more fun. So yeah.
Exactly. For
Thank
sure.
This
you.
is amazing. I love it. I think this whole program is phenomenal. It gets me very excited because this is something that's so important. It really, parents need guidance. And, like we were talking about earlier, unfortunately, over 70% of our society comes from dysfunctional families. And a lot of times
Oh,
the
my.
behaviors are repetitious. So if we have people like yourselves who have these programs that can actually open a parent's eyes to positive behavior and give them a little guidance, and then also reinforce that positivity with the child, wonderful things can happen because, it really, I look at my kids today and they're all grown up, but they still act like they did when they were young. They still have the same personality that they did when they were young. So the children, they mature as they get older, but they still are the same person. So it is very true. But when at those young ages of 3 to 9, it is a very important segment of their life. And we really have to, everything we do to our child will affect them in a positive way or a negative way. So everything you say, everything you do, how you handle situations is so important. And sometimes parents don't realize that. They think, oh, the kids will get over it. Not necessarily, so, a lot of times it will lead to, trauma. It'll lead to problems later on in their life. It will, some people psychologically will build walls or be able to have repressed emotions, and they don't get through it. So it's really important that we take these early years and do the best we can. And like we mentioned earlier, we're humans, so we do make mistakes, but at least we could do is to learn a positive program where we can reinforce positive behavior in both the parent and the child. And with that together, we can create a society of leaders, not followers, and people that demonstrate positive active behaviors to make this world a better place. And God knows we need all the help we can get right now. So having leaders with positive behaviors and positive ideas could do so much. So having a program like this, I give you kudos for developing it, and so much kudos for being able to amplify it and spread the word to millions
you.
of people around the world.
Thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much. Yeah, thanks for this opportunity
Yeah,
too.
to come on your show. And we really respect and
Everybody always,
admire what
when,
you're doing.
yeah,
Thank
when they
you.
hear from us, they're like, I can hear the passion in your voice. We are very passionate about it. So sometimes it overpowers, but yeah, we love what we're doing and the impact we're making. So thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. And that's the important part. When you do something that you really have a lot of passion for and love for, it makes a difference because people notice that and they respect that and they actually take it more seriously when they see that you take it seriously and you're compassionate about it also. So you guys are doing a great job. And all this
Thank you.
information will be in the description. So you'll have the links to their both websites and to the guide, and you'll be able to contact them if you have any questions or if you'd like to further sign up for their program. Thank you so much, guys. This has been an amazing experience.
Thank
Wow.
you as
Thank you
well.
again for the opportunity.
Have a
We
great
really appreciate
afternoon.
it.
You have a great day.
You too.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button below. It really helps out the channel. And remember to turn on your notifications so you never miss a new video. If you have any questions or suggestions for future videos, feel free to leave them in the comments section below. I love hearing from you.